Coming into this season, everyone had the Edmonton Oilers pegged to be Stanley Cup contenders. After losing in 6 games to the Stanley Cup champs in the Vegas Golden Knights, people still believed that they were Canada's best chance at winning a Stanley Cup. Combine that with having 2 of the best players in the game and the never-ending hype machine of a Canadian market, the Oilers were supposed to reign terror on the NHL this year. Except, that's not what's happening at all so far this season. Another loss to the Vancouver Canucks now makes them 2-8-1 and firmly stapled to the basement of the NHL, despite having the greatest player on the planet. Right now, the Edmonton Oilers are broken, and the solution may be too little too late if not corrected quickly. Let's start with the obvious, and that's goaltending. Right now, the Edmonton Oilers' combined save percentage is a .858. Those are 80s numbers. Neither Jack Campbell or Stuart Skinner can make a crucial stop for the Oilers, and it's tough to watch. Those numbers alone can tell you everything you need to know about the psyche of both goalies and really the team as a whole. From a technical standpoint, both goalies are truly fighting the puck right now, and it's affecting the entire confidence of the team. In their latest game against Vancouver, Edmonton got on the board with an early goal. They had the momentum, and they proceeded to dominate and drive the play by outshooting the Canucks 19-2. And so the Canucks' next shot would end up going into the back of the net. That is demoralizing for any team, but even more so for a team who's struggling in all areas of the game right now. Now I'll use this goal against here to point out another issue that is plaguing their game, and that's their defensive structure. Coach Jay Woodcroft already got flack earlier this season when people were questioning the defensive structure, and he stood by it and actually defended it. Only in a Canadian market would that be a big enough topic, but they play what's called a box plus 1, or basically zone coverage. Sportsnet's Justin Bourne explains this beautifully in an article, but essentially it's a zone defense. It is the most common system in the NHL because it relies on players to cover an assigned zone on the ice versus being assigned to a specific player like you would be in a man-on-man coverage system. This is the preferred system for the Oilers because when you lack the depth like they do, playing man-on-man can be a good way to get exposed. Now, when executed properly, the zone coverage protects the most dangerous area of the ice, which is the slot. You also conserve energy by not chasing the game like you do when teams play man coverage. Now, the downside to this system is that it takes a tremendous amount of communication and awareness to understand where to properly cover. These temporary lapses in communication while sorting out the play is where bad things happen. Watch the level of confusion here on the Canucks' first goal against the Oilers. Desharnais points to his D partner to step up and cover the high man, and every time, McDavid does a fantastic job at getting in the blind spot of the Oilers' D. As the play develops, the miscommunication snowballs, the Oilers don't know who they're covering, and Quinn Hughes has a ton of time and space, and it ends up in the back of the net. This has happened over and over again for the Oilers this season. They get caught trying to sort out the play, but the play is misread, and the opposition has loads of time to step in and make a play. The system itself is also very passive, and when you get teams and players who thrive off of time and space, it can make for a disaster. What teams do to break this type of defensive structure is they create motion. This is when all 5 guys activate and jump in on the play. The very best offensive teams in the NHL do this. They create all kinds of motion so that the defensive team gets caught trying to switch coverages and inevitably make a mistake. Now, the Oilers are a mess defensively on their own end, but up until that point, they're also not very good either when defending the rush. Mike Kelly and Sportlogic show here the differential between 2 great teams and 2 bad teams off the rush this season. The Oilers are somehow worse than the Sharks off the rush this year. That's extremely hard to do when you have back-to-back games where you let in 10 goals. But the Oilers are somehow worse. It was once again a glaring issue where the Oilers let up multiple goals off the rush against the Canucks. If you can't defend the rush in this league, you simply can't survive. Now, with all that being said, it's always the chicken or the egg scenario as to what is more important. Is it the goaltending, the defensive structure? But really, the truth always lies in the middle, because both areas of the game are directly impacting each other. Now, perhaps the most concerning part about all this is that McDavid and Draisaitl just haven't been able to cover up the ugly mess that are the Oilers like in years past. The Oilers offensively haven't been very good. power play isn't as dominant like it was last year. I mean, last year they were literally setting records for their power play dominance, but this year their rush offense has also dried up. Last year, the Oilers were one of the best teams off the rush offensively due to having the fastest player on the planet in Connor McDavid. This year, that's not the case. McDavid is entering the zone more than he was last year, but his controlled zone entries are down as he's dumping the puck in more often. That is not really ideal when you have a talent like him. You want your top players with possession of the puck when entering the zone so that they can create a play. Now, on top of all that, he's not shooting the puck nearly as much as he did last year. It was that shooter's mentality that allowed him to score 60 last year, and it also simultaneously opened up the game for his teammates and himself. Combine all of this together, and the Oilers' rush offense looks a lot less scarier than it did last year. Now, is McDavid playing injured? We don't know for sure, but this Oilers team can't afford him to not be at his best. And honestly, the same goes for Leon Draisaitl. For a team that had Stanley Cup aspirations, it has been a nightmare start. Right now, the Edmonton Oilers are broken, and if they don't turn it around quickly, it may be another year of McDavid's career where he doesn't get the opportunity to compete for the Stanley Cup.